And joining us now for the AARP Consumer Alert is Tammy Bresnahan, Senior Director of Advocacy for AARP Maryland. Tammy, thanks for joining us. What are the top issues that you and your team are following in the General Assembly this year?
First, Jeff, thank you for having us on. And our portfolio is rather full this year. We're looking at bills that show the importance of family caregiving. We are also looking at bills and supporting bills that, help reduce the cost of prescription drugs. We're looking at utility bills and long-term care. They're our top 3 or 4 priorities for this session.
Let's start with the caregiver bill. I mean, everybody knows somebody who's invested tremendous time, huge sacrifices in caring for a family member or friend who needs help. What would the legislation do?
So this bill would offer like an income tax credit up to $5,000, and you would be entitled to about $500 off of your income tax as a joint filer or even a single family filer, up to $75,000 per individual or $150,000 for a couple. And we know that family caregivers spend at least $5,000 when they're caregiving for an older relative, an adult over the age of 18. So we feel like that this bill not only will bring some relief to family caregivers, but it will also show the importance that the state of Maryland has an opportunity to show the importance of how they feel about family caregivers. Because every time a family member is being taken care of by another family member, that's one less person in a nursing home receiving Medicaid. So we believe that those dollars are saved and will help Maryland in the long run.
Well, I was going to ask about the financial side of it. Can you back that up? Because I'm thinking when you talk to legislators, everybody's going to be really sympathetic about that, but they also know what the state budget picture is, and that is in future years projections of shortfalls.
That's right. And the fiscal note on this was quite high. It was around $25 million, not to mention the changes to the comptroller's office. But that's why we are doing this. We think that $500 is a place we can start, and maybe, they can at least give them something, a little bit of something, and we'll let them decide, the committees decide what that is. But because they saved, I think it's over $1 billion by family caregiving, by someone staying with a family member, an older family member who is in need of caregiving for one or more daily activities. It saves the state over $1 billion every year.
Let's talk about the prescription drugs item. I mean, certainly the feds have made some progress there.
Absolutely. AARP fought hard to allow Medicare to negotiate. Who knew 12 years ago when I came to AARP, I didn't know that AARP was one of the only, that Medicare was the only drug program in the whole country that couldn't negotiate with pharmaceutical companies. And so we fought hard to get that. We are also fighting hard with other advocacy groups to make sure that pharmaceutical companies don't charge Marylanders who are younger than 65, who are not getting Medicare. And so what we believe that Senate Bill 388 and House Bill 340 expands the duties of the Prescription Drug Affordability Board. It allows them to look at private insurers and what they're paying for drugs, not just state and local government. So we think that will bring some relief to people between the ages of 50 and 65 at least.
You were telling me
oh, go ahead.
Well, I was going to jump in to say you had mentioned something from, I think it was the state health department, that would help low-income Marylanders with the premium to get the Part D coverage. Do I have that right?
That's correct. It's Senate Bill 219. It's called the Senior Prescription Drug Assistance Program, and it offers seniors a little bit of help with their premium every year. They have to be at least 300. They have to earn less than 300% of the poverty line or be below the poverty line, and it will give them a little help with their premium. This is an extension of the sunset provision. Currently, the program was due to end this year, and then this extends the program to 2030. So we think that that's the state's way of showing, especially low-income seniors, hey, we're thinking about you. We want you to make sure that you get the drugs you need.
And there was something from the Attorney General's office on patients in long-term care facilities.
Yes, it's a little bill called the Rights of Residents in Healthcare Facilities, Senate Bill 863, House Bill 723. And it's really a Bill of Rights. And it indicates how residents who are in facilities, how they should be treated, what their rights are. And, you know, there's a whole string of rights, like you can't neglect them. They have to know where their care is coming from. There's about 14 provisions in that bill. And then if the companies don't adhere to the rights, then they can be fined up to $10,000.
Lastly, let's talk about utilities. I think it was 25 years ago that the state legislature created the system where you can change your electricity provider, your natural gas provider. It has somewhat predictably created an environment where there have been some unscrupulous sales practices, and people have gotten stuck with some really unfair contracts. What's being considered this year?
So we call them, they're called a couple of different things. In law, they go between third-party energy suppliers or retail energy suppliers. And yes, they came out of the 1999 deregulation law. And what we have found is that these offers oftentimes, they come in about 10% lower of what you would normally pay if you just stayed with BG&E or Pepco. After that, after the 3-month introductory period, it will go up to a variable rate. And a lot of older people, even a lot of savvy younger people, aren't used to looking at their gas and electric bill and calling up the company and renegotiating another 3 months. And even if they did, its only offer is good for 3 months. Now, we had the hearing in the Senate last week, and we had a lot of commercial companies come in and say how great the law is. Well, they can negotiate directly with these retail energy suppliers, and they get a rate sometimes 2 to 3 cents lower than what they would be paying with BG&E, and they get 2-year contracts, up to 2 years, sometimes longer, depending on how they've negotiated. So what we would like to see the General Assembly do is put some parameters. Right now, there's variable rates. They can go up 15%, 20%, 30%, 40%, 60%, higher than the rate that you would pay with your regular supplier like BG&E. So we'd like to see some parameters. We'd like to see some licensure around the people that are selling this. Sometimes they go door to door. Sometimes they're very aggressive. Oftentimes they're in, your big box stores. And so we want to make sure that people are protected.
Tammy, we're going to leave it there. I apologize. We thank you for your time. Tammy Bresnahan with AARP Maryland. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.